All right, today we are welcoming Will Tjernlund of Goat Consulting. Will, why don't you tell me what Goat Consulting does? Give me the full kind of holistic view of the company.
So, Goat Consulting helps brands and manufacturers sell more and sell better on Amazon, meaning that we make sure that they have their catalog organized. We make sure that they choose the right business model within Amazon. We make sure that they have their logistics set up and their 3PLs and fulfillment options set up so that they can properly use Amazon's fulfillment centers and FBA program. And then once we have kind of the groundwork set up, then we get into copywriting and creating their Amazon listings, marketing the products on Amazon advertising, and then doing day-to-day case management just as things pop up and Amazon changes, and monthly reporting so that all of our clients have a clear idea of how much they're spending on, say, advertising, how much they're getting on sales, how much is cost of goods sold on one clean dashboard.
Okay, so are they already on Amazon when they come to you, or are they selling somewhere else and they want to have Amazon as a channel?
I would say a vast majority of our clients, this is their first time dipping their toe in B2C, is that their products are traditionally sold in catalogs to other businesses. An example is we worked with a client that sold the red, yellow, and blue flags you see outside of a doctor's office door, saying if someone's in there or not. And traditionally, for the last how many decades, someone who's working the front desk would have to go through some catalog, find that specific medical product, mail in a check, wait 3 weeks, and then they get this overpriced piece of plastic because there's only one source to buy it from. In today's day and age, they're just going to Google red, yellow, blue doctor's office flag into, say, Amazon, or if they put it into Google, Amazon's the first link. They're going to click buy now. It's going to show up as fast as 2 hours later, and it's going to be that much cheaper and that much easier because that's how they're used to ordering stuff in the 21st century. And then you kind of multiply that out towards every industry.
And so are these products already on Amazon, or are you helping with the kind of Amazon warehouse storage as well?
So unfortunately, a lot of their products are already on Amazon because the third parties and the distributors, and even say one of their doctor's offices out the back door, created an Amazon account and is flipping their products for 10% margin, trying to make a quick buck. And so when we get a client that sells, say, 200 different things that you'd buy in a medical office, we have to go through and clean out all these listings that people have created over the last 20 years that may have wrong information, wrong sizing, wrong pricing. So,
okay, how do you change someone else's listing, or do you just say that this is not their thing? So part of your service is basically saying, okay, we're going to sell, maybe these 100. You're probably selling thousands of SKUs, but I'm just going to use 100 as an easier number. So you're selling 100 items, 100 SKUs, and then you have to go in and clean up all of the other people's mess that has been created.
correct. And they might say, we were with a candy bar company, and someone made a Amazon listing that's a 3-pack. Someone made one that's a 6-pack, and really it only comes in a 1 and a 12-pack. And so it's cleaning out all those too. And the way we're able to do it is that Amazon has a program called Brand Registry, where you insert your trademark number from the USPTO into Amazon to prove that Amazon, you are the actual owner of this brand. And once you do, then Amazon kind of gives you the right to override any other copy, because most brands would obviously want to put their best foot forward and display the most accurate, helpful information possible.
Okay, so what you're actually doing for, I guess, a lot of people is they're already selling their product through all of these channels, through catalogs, as you said, but somebody else has been selling them on Amazon, and so you're helping them define their store on Amazon, and probably almost immediately they're making a profit on Amazon even after paying you.
Exactly. So one thing we do have to deal with is talking these people's languages that we are going to be signing as clients, because that one distributor who's selling on Amazon, I can't tell you how many times it's someone's cousin, right? And you got to deal with stuff like that where it's like, well, that's my cousin, so we can't do that. And so, yeah, it's going through, and we always say it's like making sure that things are listed correctly, but then it's also protecting your brand moving forward because you would not want with Amazon being one of the biggest marketplaces in the world, you would not want your product sold in, say, Walmart or Target if you didn't know who was selling it, what the packaging looked like, or what price they're selling it for. That would terrify you for a brand that, say, has spent millions of dollars on merchandising and advertising over the years, but for some reason, feel there's like a bad listing for Clorox on Amazon, and because it's when Clorox corporate has gone and cleaned it up, and random people buy it on Xerox and Target, flip it on Amazon.
Okay, so other than setting up the account, the Amazon account, cleaning up the SKUs, what are the other kind of ancillary services that go on that support that?
So once everything is set up and like merchandised for the end customer and optimized for Amazon's algorithm, then we move over to the advertising side of things. And I believe in like 2022, there was like something like $28 billion in Amazon advertising spend. And in 2023, there's closer to like $50 billion in Amazon advertising spend. And now Amazon is being more into like the Prime Video advertising and such. And so there is a new advertising beta or program on Amazon that comes out almost weekly. And so most of our job is once everything is set up and the economy is set up correctly, it's how we make your product in front of as many eyeballs as possible using Amazon's endless amount of tools.
Okay. So now that we know about Goat Consulting, let's go into the Wayback Machine and talk about how you got from, when you first started your first business, whether it was mowing lawns or babysitting or flipping Jordans or whatever it was, to where we are today. So what I've got here is that your first job that you've provided me is that you worked at Target. Tell me about how old you were, how you started. Give me the kind of the basics of that.
So I'm going to go even one mini step back just to kind of set the groundwork is that my older brother, who's 6 years older than me, which is kind of an interesting age gap in general, but he is like obsessed with money to the point where him and his friends, when they were like 9 years old, used to have stock market sleepovers, studying different stocks when you buy them like in fractions all night so that they could be the first ones to buy them at open. And this is when he was like 9 years old. And then he was like had cash and he was lending out money to me and my sister at interest. And in 2005, 2006 is when he started buying stuff from Alibaba and branding it and selling it on eBay. So that got going in 2006. I'm only like 15, 16 years old. And I'm already like, I want to do what my brother's doing. How do I import stuff online? How do I start my own business? And so he planted the seed very early. And so I knew from watching my brother is that to start a business, I need some cash. And so that's where literally I think it was like the day after my 16th birthday, I went to Target, applied for a job. I'm from Minnesota, so everyone loves Target there. Everyone has good things to say about it. And I knew that if I put my best foot forward and spoke clearly enough that they would probably want to hire me. And yeah, so Target was my first job, and I did basically every little job there is around a Target store.
Okay. How long did you work at Target for?
Well, 2 years.
And so was that the goal of working at Target, just to have a job? Or because it sounds like your brother kind of got you into making money earlier than that. So was the point of Target to get cash to fuel these other ideas that you had?
Yeah, kind of. I would say is that first off, just at that age, just having your own money is sweet. You having a car and all that is sweet. But yeah, it was always about money, money, money. To the point where when I was working at Target, say in the electronics department, there's no rules against going on break and buying stuff from Target as long as they take your name tag off. And so I'm opening up the Target and I see that there's like 6 Nintendo Wii's there. And so I'm sitting there calling my dad on my 15-minute break, 5 minutes into my shift, being like, can you drive up here? Can I use your credit card? Because like I already know that if I buy these like Wii's, that I instantly can flip them on eBay. I'm instantly gonna make a few $100 a year. I'll be able to pay you back in like 9 days. like from end to end transaction, and I'm gonna make like a quick grand, like get out of here with your credit card type of thing. And so even when I was looking at Target, I was still trying to flip things and trying to find little opportunities. Also, I got 10% off.
Okay, so working at Target almost was to be on the ground floor of getting the items that were. I mean, the Wii is a very unique point in time. I remember wanting to get a Wii and having to call and see if Best Buy had it. So Wii was probably a unique situation. Were there a lot of things that you got to do that with, or was that just a unique kind of
I
object?
would say that was a more of a unique situation, but it also showed where my brain was at. I'm
Okay.
not sitting there clocking in as a 16-year-old trying to do the least amount possible, trying to get by so I can put some gas in my car. I'm sitting here right there around the store being like, all right, I'm already here at work. How do I make double money?
Okay. Okay. Um, and so clearly you didn't want to do that forever because you were already trying to find the opportunities in that business to get out of that business. But I think you also met your current business partner in Target. So tell me about that.
So yeah, I actually met him. We didn't become friends right away, but I met him actually the first day of sixth grade because our lockers were next to each other. And I was like, who's this guy? But yeah, we eventually became better and better friends and yeah, work at Target together. And he continued to work at Target even all through college and then after college worked at Target too. So he was like a Target lifer before I got him to quit his job. But yeah, it was not only him, but I had like I can't even count, but probably somewhere between 20 to 30 friends working at that Target. So it
Okay.
was like it was a riot. Honestly, working there, all kids I went to school with, everyone's parents coming in all the time, saying hi to them. And it was like a very like small town feel almost.
Okay. Um, Tell me about running a casino out of your parents' basement. Was that during the Target years or after the Target years?
So that was a little bit after. They kind of overlapped a little bit, but that was more my senior year of high school. I think around then Target is like, but I was working like 30 hours a week during the school year, so I could like go to like football games all the time and that kind of thing. And so like I was like, okay, my senior year, like I'm actually going to all the football games. Like I don't.
So wait,
Uh
what hours were you working if you were working 30 hours a week and still going to school full time at high school?
I was working like the 4 to 10 shift, like and then I
Oh,
work eights on the weekends.
oh wow. Okay. Okay. So yeah, continue with the casino story.
Yeah. So my brother ran a small casino when he was in high school. And so I had kind of the tools already. I already had like a shoe for dealing and stuff. And our friends and I had poker chips. And so all of that was in play. And essentially, there was this weird time between like 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. on Fridays where everyone in the high school went to basketball games. But everyone didn't really know exactly what to do because it's like Friday, everyone wants to hang out, but we need to kind of eventually get back to high school because we need to go watch the game. And so I started something we called the Garage Mahal, where it was a casino. I had two other friends helping deal and such. And yeah, it was a really good time. I was charging $1 per soda on my parents' basement, chips for free, like potato chips for free to try to incentivize drink buying. And yeah, it was literally like a very wholesome, good time of, yes, there was gambling involved, but for the most part, it was just friends and kids hanging out and all that. And yeah, it was strategically needed the basketball game because I would have kids who would just never leave if we didn't have that. But at least it was like, hey, basketball games at 7, 6:50. Everyone needs to get out of here because everyone needs to get to the basketball game. And that's how we made basically the majority of our winnings. I think is just for the point of view of that people had to go home. But we had some kids who were like signing over their paycheck, the back of their paycheck over to us for chips. And back then, someone's paycheck would be like $47.
Okay. So no one was losing their shirts on this, but what it did was, again, it's kind of you finding an opportunity, just like noticing that, okay, there's a gap here between school's over at 4, game starts at 7. What are we all going to do? We all want to hang out. Why don't I provide the hangout and capitalize on it and make money in the process?
Exactly. And it was the kind of thing of like everyone had just turned like it's that senior year. So like some people are just turning 18. So the hot thing to do and the only thing you can do is like go to a casino. And so it's like, well, who wants to drive 2 hours and see him? Like, Will's got one in his basement, so he's the same deer, and everyone in the grade's there.
Yeah. Yeah. So what kind of money was made? I know you were making $1 per sodas, but was there other money to be made? How much were you making maybe a
So,
month?
so I would say each poker event was somewhere between, I don't know, I'd make like $200 to $500, and then I'd pay out the dealers for their time for helping out and all that. But there was always every time there was at least someone who like made $100, and there was always someone at least like lost $100. So it was always at least like a sunlight jovial, and then it was also two ones like, say I got 8 people at the table and I bust out as I'm dealing. Everyone can't wait to talk like crap to my face and laugh at me and be like, finally, let's take all Will's money and stuff like that. And so there was a very fun, like adversarial type relationship too between the dealers and me, and that would always have a fun energy too.
Okay. But but on average, were you making a certain amount of money per month, and were you making more than say you were making at Target?
Oh no, 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 no. It was more
So
of
this
a
was
like,
more of just a fun thing. You weren't making a ton of money, if any.
yeah, yeah, an extra or whatever, 600, $700 a month. But yeah, it wasn't anything that would have blown anyone's mind. But at the same time, it's like, again, at that age, 700 bucks a month to like for parties
To
to be
hang out with your
fun.
friends, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So after high school, I assume we're moving on to doing maintenance and skyscrapers.
Yeah, so that again was working with my buddy Reed from Target because he was doing that also on the side, and
And tell me about
that
the
was kind of my
transition
life.
from high school to that. Like, how did you go from that to that?
So I went to not like any sort of like prestigious high school. I mean, prestigious college up in Duluth, Minnesota, called University of Minnesota Duluth. And up there, it's a kind of like almost like a rust belt town where there's not really much industry or companies, and so like almost no one I knew actually had like an internship because it was just like there's not companies that give internships. There's like a quarry, you know. And so yeah, that's just kind of the jobs you got. And especially too with maintenance. I remember back then it was like Target was 7.75 an hour and maintenance like $10 an hour. So it's like, okay, well this is significantly better. And again, I get to hang out with my friends and all that kind of stuff. And so between basically my last couple of years of high school, I had a fun job in between there for a bit, but that you'd probably get to. But for the most part, I just did maintenance until all the way through college of either fixing stuff or kind of landscaping and everything else in between.
So like the landscape. Tell me more about the maintenance jobs. You said landscaping, but like give me a rundown of every type of job
Yeah, so
you were
it's
doing.
just like every day was something different. Where say that they own an office building, and so they got a new tenant coming in, and they need someone to rip up all the carpet. And then the next day, it's like stack up all the cubicles because we have a semi truck coming and they're gonna pick up all the cubicles. So it's like disassembling cubicles and everything. And then I had a maintenance job at like the university where it was go through all the dorm rooms and replace all the light switches that are broken. And it's just like I've just the kind of menial like jobs where it's like someone just needs to get it done, but like we never have like a whatever jack of all trades to solve it. But it's really like I'm not a jack of all trades, like disassembling say like cubicles for 2 days straight, but at the same time it's like indicated.
It's kind of so more of like a handyman type job. But yeah, okay, I gotcha. And so, how many hours were you working? So you were doing this through college. How many hours were you working per week, and how many years did you do that for?
So during the summer it was just normal 40 hours a week, and then from there I was doing like during the school year I was almost working like nothing. I was working like 8 hours a week or something like that. So then, yeah, I also realized very quickly. I knew I was like, I'm only in college, only so much I can do. But all of those jobs really, really, really did drive that feeling internally of like, I need to start my own business. I need to do my own thing. I cannot be doing something like this 40 hours a week for the next 40 years because like I will just go insane. Like I can do this in short spurts because I know that like there's a light at the end of the tunnel once I graduate college. But like once I graduate college, I'm never doing this kind of stuff again because like I'm just not built for it mentally or physically or anything.
Okay. And so now we're moving on to selling vapes. How did we get there? And tell me about that business.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I I knew that I couldn't get a real job. I knew that that wasn't for me because of a variety of different things. And so I'm a super senior. I have I had 6 credits left in my super senior year, and it was super annoying. And so I'm a super senior. I didn't even want to have like an apartment or anything up in Duluth, Minnesota, because I was going to be up there so little. I was just going to commute and just drive the 2 hours up there every time. And so I'm living in my aunt's basement, and it's a 100-year-old house. In Duluth, it's very cold and very dark. So I live in this 100-year-old basement, and she's a pastor in town. So you can imagine, like, she's a hoot. And so I'm sitting in this basement in this old, like, haunted, cold, dark room, being like, okay, what am I going to actually do with my life? And I start listening to podcasts. I was listening to one called The Tropical MBA, and I was listening to one called Empire Flippers. And in both of them, they discussed over and over again how you could have the job of your dreams while you're living in Thailand, sipping out of coconuts, and the business runs itself. And I was like, okay, finally, someone's speaking my language. Like, own my own business and like don't have to work all the time. Like, that sounds perfect. And over again, they kept talking about this book called The 4 Hour Work Week. And so I was like, okay, I gotta read this 4 Hour Work Week book. I read the 4 Hour Work Week, and I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. There actually is like kind of a roadmap as long as I can figure out a business that runs primarily online. And so I'm sitting there while I'm packaging up these vapes that I'm selling on Amazon and ordering from Alibaba. I'm sitting there brainstorming for like 2 weeks, trying to think of an online business I could start. And I'm like, I'm an idiot. I literally have it all. I'm
Yeah,
literally
wait,
like
okay, so
importing
I
stuff.
feel like you skipped over some pieces. So like,
Okay.
yeah, you were already selling vapes. How are you selling vapes? How did you get into that?
I literally just like saw an Amazon listing for a vape that it was $40 and I could buy it on AliExpress for $3. And so like that was and so I think my first purchase order was like $120 worth of stuff.
Wait, how did you stumble upon this?
Like,
Were you
just the way
trying to
my
buy a
brain
vape
works.
and you saw it was $40 and then you were like, I wonder if I can get this from AliExpress? Like, how did your mind process all that?
I think I was like looking up top sellers, something like that. I was looking at top sellers and I looked at it and I was like thinking in my head as just kind of like a tiny manufacturing background I have of like, okay, what action in a vape? And it's like, okay, there's a key element in the battery. It's like, this is out at $40. What's going on here? And so like I think that just intuitively that was something that I saw that was like, okay, this is doing well. It has a very low risk tolerance because it's like $150 worst case scenario. It could turn into like 1,000 some if I sell them all for the price they're going for. And I think I just did some backing that and that. I don't really think I thought too much. That was one of my superpowers when I started off, was that I was just like dumb and ambitious.
Okay, so what I think is going on here is that you were always selling, or I should say, like flipping stuff. So like you had experience with the eBay flipping from your brother's experience, and then doing so occasionally at Target. So during all this time, you were probably still engaged with eBay in some form or another. Is that right?
That, and I've always had a kind of idea in the back of my head of like what everything actually costs. Like for
Okay.
some reason or another, for me as like a younger kid, like like when I was 17, just like scrolling through Alibaba stuff, and it took not that long for me to realize like, okay, an iPhone case costs nothing because it's just a piece of plastic, and that.
Okay. So so then you kind of become enamored with Amazon, or you're just like, why were you flipping through Amazon's bestsellers?
Again, I think that it was just something where I was like, this is, as a good old Midwestern boy, literally the only business model I knew was like buy a widget and sell it for more. I didn't even know that software existed. I didn't know that anything else existed in the world besides like buy a widget for one price, sell from where elsewhere.
So it has something to do with your kind of upbringing in your geographic location a little bit. Is that was kind of what business was in that region?
Exactly. I've heard of it more and more that like just on the coast, people design software. In Middle America, people just design stuff.
Okay. Okay, so you are going through Amazon, you see the vapes, you're like, okay, well, what is involved in this thing? Why is it $40? And you go on Alibaba, you see it's $3, and so you open up an Amazon account and just buy it from Alibaba or AliExpress, and then flip it? Like, do you receive them to your aunt's
Yeah, I
basement
received it to
and
my
sell
yeah, I
them?
received it to my aunt's house. I received
Okay.
them to my aunt's house in a big yellow like DHL kind of box, untaped them, and then I wasn't using Amazon's fulfillment centers yet. I was just mailing them out and stuff, and so I would load my backpack full of vapes and go to the post office on campus and just drop them off and soon learned the lady's name because I was the only kid who was like sitting there shitting off like about like 30, 40 different little plastic babies a day. And yeah, I was just basically trying to make a quick buck. I literally like lemonade stand type economics was where my mind was going.
So how many vapes were you buying from AliExpress, and then how long did it take you to sell that amount?
So I think I was selling like probably 10 to 15 a day, and I was buying them like 150 to 200 at a time. And so it wasn't like a substantial business or anything. Again, it was like I was making the kind of money that I was making doing with my little casino, but at the same time it was something where I was like, okay, I see something's here. I don't have the cash or even the wherewithal to like even know how to scale this besides just like buy 10% more than I did the last first order every single time. Like no forecasting, no nothing. And so like I just at this point I'm just realizing that like, okay, there's a there, but I don't know much beyond that.
Okay, how long did that go on for? Was that just your super senior year?
Yeah.
And
So my
so
super
so
senior
that was
semester, yeah.
so that was the very first exposure you had with selling on Amazon to get to where we're at with Gulp Consulting. Um, After that, you worked at Tjernlund Products.
Correct.
Is that
So
a family business?
I Yes. So my brother was working at the family business at the time. My great grandpa started a HVAC manufacturing company in like 1919, and they manufacture like specialized custom parts for like the big metal boxes you see on skyscrapers. So like a
Okay.
very kind of like niche HVAC B2B type business. But I remember talking to my dad and saying, "Hey, like I'm not selling enough vapes to like support myself. I'm probably gonna have to actually interview for like real jobs. I might as well talk to you first to say like, hey, is there any opportunity for me to do something at the family business before I like try to start new careers elsewhere?" And he said you should talk to your brother about this. And so I talked to my brother about it, and he was saying, hey, you know that Amazon thing? I think that there is a place for it within the Tjernlund Products business model. We have access to all these different B2B catalogs that would sell like crazy on Amazon if someone would just buy them in bulk and send them into Amazon's fulfillment centers so they're FBA. I want to like start a division within the family's manufacturing business of just like a Amazon distributor slash Amazon 3PL. Does that sound interesting to you? And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds amazing. And so that's what I started doing. Like the last class I think was like December 20th, and then my first day of work was like December 26th.
Okay, so your brother was working at the family business. Was he still, because he's the one that kind of got you into all this stuff. Was he still doing this on the side, or had he just kind of get put that aside and was working mainly on the family business, and that was it? And then he knew that you had continued to delve deeper into that, and so he knew that you were kind of the expert in that. Like, how did that go?
I would say for sure he's more the expert than I was at that point because yeah, he had also he had like a fairly substantial, I think he was doing like 100K a month or something like that in sales. He had a substantial ping pong paddle company on the side. And so he was staying relevant with all that type of stuff and keeping up to date with that type of stuff. But yeah, previously to my brother joining the family company, they had never sold anything direct to consumer in their life.
Okay, so we're now in the infancy of your kind of Amazon ecosystem career at Tjernlund Products. How did that go? What was your so how did you set up the business? Tell me everything you did there to get to go from basically it sounds to me this is a carbon copy of what you do for everybody else for your consulting company. Is that right? You basically just
Essentially.
taken what you did at Tjernlund Products and now you just do it for everybody.
essentially. So I would say my time at Tjernlund Products, it was the best of times and the worst of times. Um, from a point of view of, I learned a ton. It was really fun. Did some trips out to China to like source new products. Plus, we're growing like crazy. Got to see everything from like private labeling my own stuff to how like a traditional old school manufacturer does it. It was right there in the warehouse next to us. We had like a little taped off area where we can store our pallets for the time being and such. But it was interesting to see how these businesses run, how the culture is. And then that's where kind of to that like that was like the worst of times was the I would say like the culture part of they they don't love that these two young whippersnappers are coming in saying we know how businesses run, we know how the 21st century is going to be, and we need to pivot the whole business this way. And if you don't, like, what are you waiting for? That for people who have been doing their job the same exact way for the last 40 years, and things have been going fine. That's not usually the thing they want to hear. And then when it's coming from like a pasta son too, then it's even that much more of like falling on deaf ears and then being like, get the F out of here, shut up, kind of thing. And so that was kind of my um I would say it was great because we were able to just contact as many distributors as possible, resell the products on Amazon. It went really well. It was pretty straightforward business model, but at the same time, it does require a lot of cash to stock all these products. And so there was friction there too of like, hey, you guys say you did $3 million in sales last year. Where's the money? And it's like, well, it's to buy the inventory for the next purchase order, you know? And so like kind of getting that to their heads where had such a mature, stable business after like 80 years. Cash flows are inevitable because all the machines have been paid off and written down to nothing, you know, because they got presses from the 1950s. So that was kind of the good and bad part, but it got to a point where I was listening to more and more podcasts. I started writing blog posts about kind of what we were up to and starting to get a little bit of recognition within the Amazon community and like Amazon Reddit. And I was offered a couple consulting jobs, one in Australia and another one in Sonoma, California. And I made a ton of money in those two consulting jobs over the month. And then at the same time, I had to go back to my warehouse in northern-ish Minnesota and go back to stacking boxes and stuff, whatever, 50 hours a week. And it
Where
was
no one
like,
liked you anyway.
yeah, well, people were mean to me. And it's like, well, what happened to my 4-hour work week life?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
That was the whole point of this in the first place. And so that's when I
Yeah.
started kind of getting the idea of like, how do I turn this into a remote first-based business? And that's when remote consulting started kind of planting its seeds, but didn't start for another couple more years.
Okay. So how old were you at this time, and how big did the Tjernlund Products business get on Amazon under your tenure? And how long did you work for Tjernlund Products?
I was there only, I think, like 14 months, something like that. So it wasn't a very long time. It got up to about 7 million a year run rate by the time I ended from nothing on Amazon. So that was pretty good. It does like $5 to $6 million a month now, I think. So it's pretty substantial business. There's
When you left, it was $7 million a year, and now it's $5 million a month.
Yeah, it's
depending on providing very well for the business still.
It's the entire business now.
Oh, is it? Wow. Okay.
Well, basically, like it's as like there's not much room in the world for a small to middle-sized manufacturer. And so like that just kind of dwindles and sells spare parts and stuff. But it's like, what are you gonna do? Compete with Shenzhen? Like, come on.
Yeah. But so what was the business doing in annual revenue prior to this Amazon thing? What was Tjernlund Products doing?
I think it was doing, if I guess, somewhere between, for the decade up to it, somewhere between $7 to $9 million a year every year. So then I quit working at the family biz. And then I still had like a couple more consulting jobs lined up, but I realized that like I need something a little bit more sustainable. And at the time, there were these not only Amazon Reddit, but other places where people would congregate was Amazon Facebook groups. And the Amazon Facebook groups had like 10,000 members, but they were essentially worthless since people were asking the same question over and over again. And the way that they just like basically work where it's like the newest thing shows up first in your stream and so on and all that, the way they worked in the past. It was like the worst way to ever communicate any idea ever. And I'm kind of like, I was on the internet early, even for myself, like through like the 90s and early 2000s. I'm a forum person. I live on all sorts of different forums growing up, and that was like my like forum culture. And so I thought, okay, what if someone actually charged $20 a month, had a forum for Amazon sellers, and if someone asks a question, they're told to go search for it first to see if it's already been answered, so that there's like one long stream of like actually answers this question. It's properly figured out, and then two, we can take the money and have like weekly webinars where I can pay for some, say, trademark lawyer that's $500 an hour and have an hour webinar with them to answer everyone's questions at once, so everyone doesn't have to answer or have to find a lawyer and hire them for the third one or two little questions that they may have. And you just have like a live Q&A webinar. So it was like, how do I build it? And it's like this basically community that off of Facebook that I already see works, but like charge a minimal amount a month just to keep out the people who aren't serious.
Okay. So we're at Tjernlund Products. You get 2 random consulting gigs. You go back, you're stacking boxes at the warehouse. How did you go from that to the FBA Mastermind forum business?
So that was again like, so then I say I quit my job in say January. Then there's like a month of me sitting around trying to figure out different business models that are going to be more remote based and doesn't require me buying a physical product and selling it for more. And one of the ones that I just always thought was very smart was just like a forum, because it's once you kind of get it started in the network effects, it basically runs itself. And then from there, I don't have to create content on a daily basis because all my users are, and I just have to chime in when I think that I'm helpful or interesting. And it just seemed like one of the a forum still to this day, like a forum and a job board, seem like the 2 businesses that like run themselves the most.
So how big did this business get? How many people were on it? You said you were charging $20 a month. How much were you making?
So the company was essentially like 100% profit, because I think the domain costs a certain amount, and like I think I used some free forum software or something to get it all set up. So like it was essentially all free profit. I think I maxed out at about 170 members, so it was making like $3,400 a month, something like that, and which is fine, but again, it's not like crazy money. But to kind of finish off a story I was telling earlier, I go to a entrepreneur digital nomad conference. I think it was in 2015.
Okay.
And one of the people speaking there is the Empire Flippers, who got me into entrepreneurship in the first place.
Okay.
And they are talking about how to buy and resell online businesses. I go sit through it. I talk to them, go and walk up to them afterwards and talk to them and say, hey, I have an online business. You're really saying I can get like 20 times monthly or 25 times monthly net income? Oh, okay, hold on. I'll go sell you my business right now. So I literally went up to my hotel room, like assembled the one spreadsheet of finances because it was a pretty simple business. Sent it to him, and I think it was like 2 weeks later, the Empire Flippers themselves bought it from me for about like a little, I think it was like $68,000. And so I was like, okay, I had the business from start to finish. I had the business for like 4 months.
Okay, so you get started with this idea of remote first 4-hour work from Empire Flippers, and then Empire Flippers ended up buying your company. Something I want to go back to is when you were listening to those podcasts, and it was like, oh, you can be working on a business and be sipping drinks in Thailand. I feel like I see that on Twitter all the time, where people are talking about this hype business thing that has existed from the beginning of time. Even in the 80s, there were people talking about how you can, buy real estate with no money down. But like, do you think that type of talk was beneficial to you? Did you understand that it wasn't real, that you couldn't just do nothing and sit on the beach in Thailand, sipping drinks and having a business run itself? Or like, what is your mindset there? Like, how did that inspire you, but also ground you in understanding in what reality is?
So again, I honestly think it comes down to me not growing up on the coast. And so I see the guys who do these like get rich quick TikToks where they got the Lamborghini and the private jet and all that stuff. It's like just screams like scammy, slimy dude without me having to think too hard about it. But then when I think about like my business where it's like, man, I spend on this forum, like I do like I'm chill at like an hour or so a day. It makes 3,400 bucks a month. Like in Minnesota, people work a lot harder for 3,400 bucks a month. Like I feel very fortunate. Let's not like go and get a lease of a car that's $1,200 a month. It's like, no, I'm not rich. I'm making whatever 40K a year. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like 40K a year with the amount of effort I'm putting into it and the control I have over my life. That's like priceless. And so I guess I thought of it more from like a blue collar point of view opposed to like a flashy get rich point of view.
Okay. So why did you sell that to Empire Flippers instead of if you were already doing $3,500 a month in 4 months, right? That's how long before you sold it? That's how long you ran this thing?
Yep.
Do you think you could have built it to double, 5x, 10x over time?
So yeah, if I were to really, really taken it seriously and been like, hey, let's invest that 3,000 bucks into Facebook ads. You know, like I really think I could have done something, but then it would have kind of created like it would have turned it off from being like a lifestyle business. And the first say 160 members I got like came so quickly, and it was like I could see the graph kind of just like starting not to go nearly as steep. At the same time, I'd only done it through like organic and word of mouth getting the members. And so at that point, it did kind of seem like, hey, I don't know how much I can grow this without actually putting some decent effort into it. And I don't know if I want to put the decent effort into it. And at the same time, too, I'm this was like life changing money to me. Like I was like, man, I'm going from like having like 4,500 bucks in my checking account to having $70,000 in my checking account. Like at the time, I was like, I can live off $70,000 for like 3 years. So I have 3 years of runway to come up with my next business idea. It's like, okay, I'll take that at any time. So like that's where my mindset was.
Okay. And so how quick did the Empire Flippers thing go within like how quick did the sale happen? And you know what happened to that thing afterwards? Did it continue to grow or what?
So they listed it on their website, and then they announced like earlier that day that they were starting their own like mini private equity firm. They're gonna like roll up things that they find good opportunities. And so within like they let it be listed for like 8 hours before they just bought it themselves.
Oh, I see. Okay, so they've got a marketplace and they were doing that and they listed it to sell and they were like, you know what, screw this. We're gonna keep it for ourselves.
And they were thinking the same exact thing you were. This guy's spending no time on it and it already is a cash cow. What if we took it seriously?
Yeah. And do you know what happened to it?
Yeah, I bought it back for 3 grand.
Say that again? Oh, you froze. Hold on.
Oh, sorry, I lost you there for a second, Chad.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. I'm gonna start right back where we were. Okay, so you sold it for 70K. Do you know what happened to it after the fact?
Yeah, I bought it back for 3K.
How did that go?
Essentially, they came back to me and said, we literally did nothing since we bought it. We did not hire a single person to run it. We don't have a moderator. We don't have anything going on. We have canceled everyone's subscriptions because people are complaining to us and doing chargebacks because they're saying that their place is a ghost town. And yeah, we just want this off our books. And I said, okay, well, like the FBA mastermind at least has some kind of links back to it. And at the time, I was kind of thinking because I had Go Consulting at the time. Go Consulting kept me about it. I was thinking we have these leads who come to us where like they don't want to pay our full monthly retainer, but they want to be able to kind of be in the know. Maybe we can just funnel off kind of our lower quality leads to the FBA mastermind and kind of create some MRR there. But again, it was a thing where it's like I'd rather just focus on these clients who like are real businesses and pay us real money. I only want to like focus on like helping people starting off again. And so we kind of just after like 6 months of us running the FB mastermind, we just sunset it.
Okay, so this happened years later. Let's go
Yes.
back. You sold it. You had $70,000 in your checking account. What was next? What were you thinking? What were the different ideas you tried? What failed? What succeeded? Like, give me your mindset in there as well, because I think this is a really interesting part of the journey where, people do have now this, because at this point in your journey, you've got the skills, the tool set, the experience. Uh, people know who you are. You've got some cachet. You're in a unique position where you actually have cash as well. So I think a lot of people are in your position thinking like, okay, I know all these things, I can execute. What's next? So like, give me that whole mindset and how you move to the next step.
Yep. So then there was about a year of me being a digital nomad and mostly making my money off Clarity calls, like Clarity.fm, if you're familiar with that, where essentially people just pay like, I think my rate now is like $1,000 an hour to talk to me and ask Amazon questions. And so I was doing like 1 to 2 calls a week for like an hour each, making like decent money. I also had some money in the bank, and then I was also just living cheaply. Like I remember I lived in an apartment in Sicily for a month, and it was like $600 for the month and stuff. And so like I was living pretty cheaply, making decent money, kind of just cruising around, thinking of my next idea, but knowing that my next idea is going to be like the real idea. Like you said, I've done enough of kind of the little here, little there. How do I do this for real, for real? How do I do this in the thing that's like scalable beyond me, actually has real employees, all that type of stuff? And then all of a sudden I had 3 bigger companies contact me saying that they had kind of almost like a head of Amazon job that they wanted to offer me. But I knew I didn't want a job, but I knew that also maybe I might be able to take all these jobs and try to spin them into an agency, accept all the jobs, but say, hey, I'm going to have to be hiring a team and it's not going to bill and so and so. And that's when kind of the first thoughts of book consulting started.
Okay, so going to expand that a little bit. What I heard you say, and I think I missed some of it, was somebody contacted you and said they had a bunch of different jobs and they were trying to get you, maybe it was on this Clarity call where you were just doing kind of consulting on the phone or just answering questions, and you became aware of these multiple jobs, and maybe they were asking you if you knew someone to do that.
It was more like people contacting on LinkedIn saying, hey, we are starting a job opening for a head of Amazon at our corporation.
So these are
We've seen
multiple
your
different
resume.
people reaching out to you, not a single
Correct.
person reaching out to you about multiple jobs.
Correct.
Okay. And how many people was that were reaching out?
It was 3 separate companies.
All at the same time?
All at the same time. And so that's when it kind of came to the thing of being like, okay, I need to start accepting some of these offers, but at the same time, I don't want a job. And then how do I accept multiple offers at scale? And so like the agency model kind of fit in there nicely.
All right. Tell me about that. How did you, what were the early problems? How did you go about convincing them to hire you as an agency when you didn't have one? How did you go about setting up the business? Who did you hire? Like, give me the whole rundown of this.
So yeah, I was able to, with talking to my business partner I have now, Reed, who's kind of come in and out of the story a little bit, but he was down to start a business with me when he heard that I had kind of offers on the table. And so we were like, okay, let's actually do this for real. Then I had a girl I went to high school with messaged me around that same day on Facebook saying, hey, I have a boyfriend who's interested in working with Amazon. Would you possibly, can you meet him can you get on a phone call with him for 5-10 minutes so we can pick your brain sometime in the next 2 weeks? And I was like, I'm literally doing nothing now. He's like, me for a beer right now. And she's like, yep, he's on his way. Met him. He seemed really smart. Seemed like he really had his head on straight and kind of knew that what he wanted in his life and wanted something a little bit more entrepreneurial. So I left that year with him, called Reed and said, hey, I think I found our first employee. Since he kind of initial contracts gave us some sort of runway to hire someone immediately day one. And then from there, it was getting to work. So one of the clients we signed, we still have to this day, almost 8 years later, and they sell skates. And we kind of tried to figure out some skates, like ice skates.
Oh, skates. Ice skates. Okay.
And we had to figure out some sort of kind of monthly retainer plus percentage of sales. Another client we signed right then just wanted like a big project basis, but they didn't want an ongoing engagement. And then we had another client who just wanted monthly retainer but no percentage of sale. And so we were kind of accepting money in all different ways and didn't really know what services we were providing, and kind of just trying to just be as helpful as possible as long as the money was coming in. It took us months, if not years, to figure out exactly what our business model is today.
Okay, so those first 3 leads that you had that you converted into actual clients, not one a continuous client till now, and the other two in some other form. How did you determine what to charge? Because what you bring up now is probably the most difficult part of business is what do I charge, right? And so were you kind of feeling them out and asking them what they were willing to pay, or were you kind of figuring out what the job entailed and then you kind of just threw out a price? And what were those three? You said you had 3 different ways that you were charging them. What were those 3 different ways you were charging them?
I don't remember exactly the numbers, but it was something like $3,000 a month plus 5% of sales. Another one was $60,000 for 4 months of work, and another one was like $4,000 a month moving forward indefinitely. And we basically just did whatever the client said. Where the one that was $60,000 for 4 months of work, the person within there who was their e-commerce manager said, "We have $60,000 budgeted for this." We said, "Okay, we'll take the budget." And then the other one where we took a percentage of sales, it was the person we were talking to was not only the CEO, but also the owner operator. And so we knew that percentage of sales would be something that aligned with them more, because they want us to kind of be incentivized to grow their business so that they can buy a new speedboat or whatever they want to do. And then lastly, the other one was mostly just looking for someone who would just do the work, but like wanted to hire an employee. So they don't want to mess with the percentage of sales. They don't want to mess with the project-based thing. They just want to know that they pay an X amount each month and that someone gets the work done.
Okay, so it's you and Reed are the first 2 people that started the business. Do y'all decide 50-50, or and did y'all
Yep.
invest money into the business? How many years after you sold FBA Mastermind did this happen, or did this happen immediately?
No, there was probably a year and a half after I sold FBA Mastermind of me traveling around doing little one-off
Oh, the
consulting
clarity
things
calls, and yeah, okay.
and the clarity calls and such. And
So how
then
much money did you have left when you started this?
14K maybe or something like that.
Okay, were you starting to sweat a little bit?
Yes and no, because I knew to like I could always like lower my clarity call thing, or I could actually like be that course dude if I really got desperate or something. But I wasn't sweating too much just because like there had just been so much random inbound over the years, where it's like my email inbox all of a sudden just was like empty one day, and like, oh my gosh, but there was always so many weird little opportunities I was constantly falling into that I was still optimistic about just like Amazon in general.
Okay, so you and Reed started. Did y'all do 50-50?
Yep.
And was it just like a handshake agreement, or did y'all actually start an LLC?
Reed is very, very type A, and we don't really take any chances anywhere. And so the thing we did was started an S corp, hired a lawyer to make an actual agreement between the two of us, make sure that there's an actual like business outline that we both agreed to. And so like everything was set in stone like literally day one of, so there was no ambiguity or anything.
Okay. You got your first 3
That's why
clients.
he's a great business partner for me, honestly.
Yeah. So you got your first 3 clients. How did you snowball that into, and tell me about how you decided to, like you said, it took you a couple months or years to actually get to what your business model was. Give me a couple of clients that you remember off the top of your head, what you charged them, why you charged them, what you charged them, and then end with how, what your business model is now and how you kind of arrived at that.
So the next step after signing our first few clients was creating a website and starting to write blog posts. To this day, I'd say about 80% of our clients come from organic SEO, where we just write blog posts about specific subjects that Amazon sellers have to solve. And people say that's helpful. Can you help us more? And so that's kind of like our main way of acquiring customers to this day. And then from there, it's talking to each customer and figuring out like, basically, do we want to work with this person? And we tried to in the beginning, since everyone was doing it, try to take a percentage of sales, but it turned out to just be more effort than it's worth, since we would have companies that we would sell way too much product in the first 2 months of the year, and then they'd be out of stock for 2 months, and we wouldn't get a percentage of sales. So it was like, okay, well, this is annoying cash flow wise, and it's annoying being punished for something we didn't even do. So we eventually migrated into doing just a flat monthly retainer. And we go, okay, this way a company can budget itself for the year, go, it's going to cost exactly $48,000 a year. It's going to cost exactly $60,000 a year. We can write down in our spreadsheet, okay, we're going to be making monthly recurring income from this company of X amount of dollars moving forward. And then we have really clear projections of when we should hire another account manager. We have really clear projections of how much we're going to make each year and how much we should pay in quarterly taxes. And everything's just like extremely smooth from that point of view. Again, it's kind of back that like lemonade stand economics of like, okay, just charge more than what it costs you.
So how many clients do you have now? What kind of revenue are you doing now? And you said you've been in business 8 years?
Yep. So we have, last I checked, like 34 clients. We're going to be doing just under $2 million, I think last year, 1.7, I would say something like that. And yeah, our retainers are basically evenly distributed throughout that. It's not like we have like one big client who pays us everything and then a bunch of little clients. Every client is treated equally. Every client's we work just as hard on and want to lose just as we don't want to lose just as bad as the next client.
That's healthy too, right? Because if you had a client that was 40% of your business, you were going to have to like really kind of kneel to them at wherever they need. So having a set price for everybody is great. And what I also kind of get is that the FBA mastermind thing you had is now just your blog post. Is that more or less right?
Yeah, essentially.
So
More times than not,
so
that's
instead of charging
basically it.
$20 a month for a forum, you are giving away this information for free, and the very small subset of people that get information from you and they're like, wow, these guys know what they're doing, and this is just way too much work. Because everybody thinks things are going to be easy until they get deeper into it. And they're like, wow, this is too much work, and then they end up hiring you. Is that kind of the funnel?
Yeah, it's that, or it's just something where they try to do it themselves for the last 3 months, and they call us just so frustrated, being like, "Hey, I've been reading your blog posts up and down. I've read almost every one of them, and I'm just gotten to a point where it's like, just you do it now."
Yeah. Okay. And so over the 8 years, like what was your revenue like year over year? Because everybody likes to think that a business doubles every year or they put projections out. And I don't know how your business is, but mine is very up and down. There is no like we grow at this amount percent every year. It is very like sometimes you're flat, sometimes you have a huge jump, sometimes you have a dip. How did that go over the 8 years?
So I would say on a monthly basis, it's an up and down type thing. But when you zoom out on a yearly basis and then like a 5 year basis, it's the most boring, like straight graph up to the right. I think we like, if you average it out, we grow like exactly like 19% year over year. And so like that, and we started at like our very first year at like say like 500K revenue. And then from there for 8 years, like 20-ish to 25%, just compounding from then on forward.
And so, where do you think it's going to go from here? Where's the next 8 years? Like, what do you think Go Consulting is doing in 8 years?
I honestly pray the same exact stuff. I think we're going to be doing a lot more with Amazon advertising. Since advertising is getting bigger and bigger, Amazon is also getting bigger into logistics. We might be helping people with logistics more and more. But for the most part, I hope it's the same exact stuff where I hope we're helping out clients that are stable. I hope that we're still growing at that kind of percentage. And with the agency model in general, the valuations you get is essentially nothing. So there's no exit ever going to be worth it. And so it's just enjoying my time long year building.
All right. Well, Will, thank you so much for your time. Goat Consulting is the business. And where can we find you on social or LinkedIn or wherever?
Yeah, LinkedIn, it's LinkedIn/in/Tjernlund, my last name. And then my Twitter and Instagram is at WTJERN, I believe. And then lastly, yeah, goconsulting.com, know it, goconsulting.com.
All right, Will, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.